The film opens. A lone ship cuts through a violent stretch of the South Atlantic, swallowed by fog so thick it turns the ocean into a blank sheet of gray. The waves slam against the hull like warnings, loud, angry, and endless. On that ship stands a young weather officer named Friend, a man running from a past heavy enough to push him across half the world. He isn't here for adventure. He isn't chasing glory. He's chasing silence, hoping a year of isolation on a forgotten island will erase the noise inside him. The government has sent him to a remote outpost to record weather for 12 straight months. 1 year alone. 1 year surrounded by nothing but ocean and sky. 1 year with no voices except his own. It sounds simple on paper, but the crew knows the truth. People don't last long here. Something always breaks. After days moving through storm after storm, the ship finally reaches the island, a barren piece of rock, rising like a wound in the middle of the sea. No birds, no trees, no signs of life. Only a lighthouse on a cliff and a lonely wooden cabin that will serve as his home. The old weather officer stationed here should have been waiting to return with the crew, but no one is there. When the captain, Friend, and 2 sailors enter the cabin, they freeze. Furniture overturned, supplies scattered, clothes ripped apart, not a single footprint. The place looks less abandoned and more attacked, but by who or what? The captain's jaw tightens. He has brought many officers here over the years. None of them ever returned the same. Some didn't return at all. Before panic sets in, they decide to head to the lighthouse. Maybe the officer took shelter there, but when they climb the hill and reach the structure, they find the entire perimeter surrounded by sharp wooden stakes hammered at odd angles, like a desperate attempt to keep something out or something in. They knock. No answer. They shout. Silence. Finally, the captain forces the door open, and inside they find a man, filthy, bearded, and covered in scars, as if he's survived 100 battles alone. His name is Gruner, the light keeper. When they ask what happened to the old weather officer, Gruner answers coldly, "He's dead. He walked toward the sea and never came back." Friend doesn't know what to believe. The captain feels danger in his bones. He gives Friend one last chance. "Leave with us now. Forget this mission. Survive." But Friend refuses. He needs this year. He needs the money. He needs the isolation. Running back now would be admitting defeat to a life he's already trying to escape. The captain leaves him with a rifle and a warning. "This place is not safe. Stay alert." Then the ship disappears into the fog, leaving Friend alone with an empty cabin, a strange lighthouse keeper, and an island that already feels wrong. Night falls quickly here. The wind screams through the cracks in the walls. Friend organizes belongings, tries to make the cabin livable, and eventually opens the drawer of an old desk, where he finds a diary. The diary of the man who vanished, Weather Officer Robert. The pages are filled with strange notes, unfinished sentences, sketches of odd amphibious figures, half human, half creature. Friend thinks the man must have been lonely, losing his mind, drawing nonsense. He flips pages until he finds a photograph of Robert's wife, pressed neatly next to personal notes. Something about it unsettles him. He doesn't know why. Tired, overwhelmed, he falls asleep with the diary open beside him. At sunrise, Friend starts his work. He walks toward the shore, measuring wind speed and inspecting atmospheric pressure. But then he notices something odd. Stones arranged in perfect patterns, shells placed carefully between them like symbols. Not the work of waves, not the work of nature. Someone or something put them there. He assumes it must be Gruner, doing something eccentric. And yet, when he looks toward the lighthouse through his binoculars, he sees something that chills him from the inside out. A second figure standing near Gruner. But when he blinks, the figure is gone. He lowers the binoculars, shakes it off as exhaustion, but the unease stays. That night, while Friend is lost in paperwork, he hears a soft knock on the door. Gentle, almost polite. He expects Gruner, but when he calls out, no one answers. The knock comes again. He grabs his lamp and walks toward the door. The wind shifts. A low, strange hum rises around him, something between a groan and a growl. Then he sees it. A hand, pale, webbed, and not human, sliding under the door, clawing for the latch. His body freezes. The thing outside pushes harder. The door frame shakes. He bolts to the basement, slams the hatch shut, and hides behind crates. Footsteps echo above him. Light, searching, predatory. Something moves through the cabin. It is not human. Its breathing is sharp, clicking, unnatural. Friend peeks through a crack. A creature crouches in the moonlight, its skin shimmering like wet scales, its limbs bent in ways no human limb should bend. It sniffs the air, searching for him. He tries not to breathe, but he shifts slightly, and the wood creaks. The creature snaps its head toward him. Its eyes glow in the dark. It charges at the crack, clawing violently, trying to reach him. In pure panic, Friend grabs a knife and slashes through the gap, hitting its eye. A shriek tears through the cabin, and the creature retreats, disappearing into the night. Friend sits trembling in the darkness, realizing the truth. Robert's diary was not madness. The sketches were real. The island is not empty, and whatever attacked him tonight can return anytime. At dawn, he stumbles outside. On the sand, he finds large footprints, but not shaped like feet. They lead straight into the ocean. The creatures came from the sea. Heart-pounding, Friend runs to the lighthouse and begs Gruner to let him in. Gruner refuses and pushes him away like he's nothing more than a nuisance. listens. The man clearly knows more than he is willing to say. He also made it very clear Friend is on his own. Forced back to his burning fear, Friend fortifies his cabin, boards the windows, builds barriers of sharp wooden stakes, prepares fuel-soaked papers near the door. If they come again, he will light everything on fire. But luck shifts. He finds a weathered chest hidden under floorboards. Inside, an old rifle and boxes of ammunition, a thin slice of hope. Still as the sun goes down, dread climbs inside him again. He clutches the rifle and sits in silence, waiting, and then he hears it. Not one creature, not two, dozens. The sea ripples with movement. Dark silhouettes crawl out of the water. An entire pack of the same creatures he saw last night. They move on all fours, then rise upright, surrounding the cabin. Then they attack. The walls shake, claws slam against the door. Friend fires relentlessly. Some creatures fall, but the rest grow more furious. He ignites the soaked papers. Flames roar across the doorway. The creatures recoil, terrified of fire, and retreat back into the waves. But the fire spreads faster than he expected. The wooden cabin crackles. Flames climb the walls. The roof collapses in a furious storm of heat and smoke. Friend barely escapes, wrapped in a blanket, sprinting toward the rocks near the lighthouse as his home burns to ash behind him. Rain finally puts out the flames, but by morning, nothing remains. No roof, no supplies, no shelter, no safe. If Friend wants to live, he has only one option left. He needs to get inside the lighthouse. He needs Gruner, or at least the walls that protect him. But the island, this island, never lets anything come easy. Dawn reveals the charred skeleton of the cabin, a blackened testament to the night's violence. Friend stands among ash and driftwood, breathing salt and smoke. His hands numb, his cheek raw from smoke. He looks toward the lighthouse, its white paint streaked with rust, its lantern room dark and silent. Inside, Gruner moves like a man who has made peace with solitude and horror at once. There is a hardened rhythm to him. Fetch water, tend the lamp, repair the stakes. Everything he does is an argument against forgetting what prowls the shore. Friend approaches with the rifle slung across his shoulder, wet with last night's rain. He is not pleading. He is bargaining. Survival against duty in the same heartbeat. Gruner watches without surprise. He is careful and small with his consent, as if letting a tide into a harbor that cannot hold it. He allows Friend under the lighthouse's protective walls, but not into his confidence. Whatever Gruner knows, he will not share it for sympathy. On his way up the rocky path, Friend spots movement on a low shelf of stone near the waterline. Something small and pale is curled in the weeds. It looks exhausted, thin, and oddly childlike. Skin slick like a fish, eyes too bright for the shore. Friend's first reaction is the same fear that has driven him since he arrived. Memories of the creature that tore through his cabin last night flash like collisions in his head. He lifts the rifle. The animal doesn't move. It watches him with a helpless, almost human look. For a split second, Friend sees only danger. The logic of survival is brutal and simple. Remove the threat. He should shoot and be done. He squeezes the trigger. A shout explodes from the cliff above. Gruner lunges between them, the rifle swinging up to block Friend's aim. He yells a single broken name, half plea, half command, and his voice breaks something inside Friend. The barrel is inches from the creature's head. Friend's finger trembles on the trigger. Gruner catches his wrist with a grip that is fierce and somehow pleading all at once. He hauls Friend back until they are pressed against the stone. The creature makes no sound. It bears no threat. It only breathes. Gruner's eyes are a map of late nights and old wounds. He pushes the rifle down, not to disarm violence, but to show that he will not allow another violence today. He moves closer to the small creature with hands that are careful and almost tender, the way someone handles an injured child. He pulls the animal into his arms as if it were the most fragile thing on earth. The way he holds it becomes an explanation he cannot say with words. When Friend finally lowers the rifle, the anger inside him shifts into something else. Confusion, then embarrassed regret. He had almost killed a living thing because it looked different. His hands shake with shame. Gruner does not scold. Instead, he sets a condition. He will not let Friend inside the lighthouse unless Friend spares what Gruner calls his pet. The bargain is sharp and simple. Gruner will open the door, hand over shelter, and a share of provisions on one condition. Friend must not kill the creature. In exchange, Gruner will allow Friend to stay and learn the island's rules. Friend does not like the terms, but survival rewrites stubbornness. He nods. He keeps the rifle lowered. He watches Gruner tuck the creature into a corner of the lighthouse like a secret. There, the animal, later called Anarisa by Gruner, rests. It stretches a webbed hand and sniffs the air. For the first time since arriving, Friend senses a human tenderness here that is not cruelty. Gruner's possessiveness is ugly and protective and real all at once. Inside the lighthouse, the rules of the island are clearer. Doors are locked at dusk. The light must be tended at specific angles. Food is rationed. The sea is watched. Gruner's rituals are the only thin restraint that keeps the monsters at bay. Friend learns quickly. Survival here follows a schedule, not a strategy. He adopts the routine because there is no alternative. alive. Time stretches into days. Friend charts pressure changes, measures wind shifts, logs barometric highs and lows. Each entry in his notebook is a thin attempt to civilize chaos. Each night, the water returns with silhouettes that slink along the shoreline and examine the light like thieves testing a lock. Friend practices shooting at shadows. His hands tremble less than they did in the beginning, but the tremor is still there. Now steadier, trained, part of his balance. A fragile truce forms between him and Gruner. It is a truce of necessity, frayed and practical. They share supplies. They share chores, but they will not share history. Gruner's life here is sealed behind a ring of spikes and silence. He talks about the sea only to correct Friend's assumptions. The creatures are not animals in the way people mean animals. They are not driven by hunger alone. They are anchored by something older, by grief or memory, or some remnant of an order Friend cannot yet read. And the small creature, Annarisa, is not merely an enemy or a curiosity. In Gruner's hands, she is a reason, a wound that lit a man's rule. Friend learns this slowly, watching how Gruner tends her wounds, how he flinches when others glance at her, how he seems to buffer the world from something fragile he refuses to lose. The bargain that saved Friend's life also put him inside that man's world, where mercy and ownership are tangled into one. Supplies shrink, bullets are nearly gone, even desperation feels exhausted. Then, one afternoon, a miracle. A distant ship cuts across the horizon. Friend's heart surges. A year of terror, loss, and survival condenses into one thought: freedom. He rushes inside, grabs the flare gun, and sprints toward the cliff. His hand shakes so hard he nearly drops it. He raises it toward the sky, and Gruner slams into him like a storm. The flare skids from Friend's hands and falls into the rocks. The ship continues sailing, oblivious. Friend watches the last hope of rescue vanish into the fog, and behind him, Gruner breathes like a man ready to break. Annarisa sees everything from below, how Gruner attacked Friend, how he chose captivity over compassion. She lunges at Gruner, biting into his arm with a cry that is not rage, but heartbreak. Friend stops her, not out of loyalty to Gruner, but because killing will not fix this wound. But Gruner hears only betrayal. He sees Friend and Annarisa aligned, and the sickness inside him deepens. Days turn heavy, stretched thin by resentment. Gruner beats Annarisa more often now. Punishment, control, desperation. Friend intervenes when he can. Their arguments scorch the air. Two men trapped on one island, each becoming something the other fears. Friend makes a plan, not to escape, but to test the island's logic. He learns to move silently along the rocks, to follow the fallen webs of the creature's paths without being noticed. He learns that in twilight, when the light thins and the world goes into a low pulse, the creatures gather at specific coves and sing, an eerie chorus that resonates like mourning. They draw patterns in the sand and leave trinkets, bits of ceramic, rusty coins, lures of human remembrance. One night, while following one such procession, Friend discovers a relic, an old barnacled toy boat lodged between rocks, the same shape as the small handmade token he had given the creature days before. The toy acts like a thread that connects him to something larger. He senses a lineage of loss, people who came to the island and vanished, people who left behind objects that became anchors for a grieving species. With this understanding, Friend executes a bold, dangerous idea. He and Gruner will dive to the wreck offshore that Gruner had once told him about. If weaponry or explosives remain in that wreck, then they could arm themselves, turn the island's terror into a battlefield they can manage. Gruner is reluctant, but not immovable. He agrees, but with a caveat. He wants nothing to do with leaving afterward. He will help retrieve the ordnance if it preserves the island's order, if it makes his domain safer for the moment. Friend plunges into cold water that bites like iron. Below, light fractures and seaweed floats like ash. The wreck is a collapsed skeleton of metal and wood, and inside it, crates of old explosives and gunpowder sit like sleeping beasts. He hauls them to the surface with muscles screaming and lungs burning. The haul is brutal work, but it yields a stacked promise. With these charges, an end to the cycle may be possible. Back at the lighthouse, they set traps, rigged lines, time charges, and caches to lure the creatures in waves. They design a plan that is precise on paper and wild in practice. Friend wires detonators, lays dynamite across choke points, and counts on the creature's hunger and their tendency to follow the sound of the light. They will open the gate, lure the pack in, and cut the line. It is a human solution to a problem shaped by grief. As the cold season tightens, the creature's attacks thin into a weight. Friend assumes they are gone for winter, but Gruner insists they are calculating, only quieter. He watches the horizon with an old man's patience, the kind bred from seasons of rage and surrender. Friend grows restless in his waiting. The dynamite waits like a loaded clock. When the night of the strike arrives, calculation meets chaos. Friend and Gruner leave the main gate deliberately open, an invitation. They send Annarisa to the top of the lighthouse to cry out, a sound meant to draw the pack forward. Annarisa is different now. She has a bond with Friend that is not captivity. She responds not out of obedience, but out of a strange mutual yearning. She climbs and sets the call with a sorrow that hurts to hear. The creatures answer. They come from the water in a dark tide. They move like tides do, patient and unstoppable. They surge toward the open gate and pour into the rocks with a force that makes the lamp tremble. The detonators are wired and waiting, but human plans are fragile. One lever does not trip. A wire goes limp. A single connection is missing. Friend, who had been below fixing a fuse, scrambles to reconnect while the creatures climb, and the ground shakes. In the chaos, Gruner fights with the kind of feral protectiveness that hints at a darker love. He swings a rifle like a cudgel, keeping the closest attackers at bay. Friend reattaches the line, and with a spark and a final frantic pull, the charges go off in a thunder that makes the cliffs shudder. Days pass. The shoreline stays eerily quiet. The creatures no longer attack. They no longer circle the lighthouse with glowing eyes. Instead, the sea sends only the low, echoing sound of mourning, long cries rolling across the waves like grief condensed into sound. Friend tries to ignore it, but the haunting melody settles into his bones. He walks the beach, noting delicate footprints, small ones, tiny ones, children, survivors who lost everything in the explosions. He finds 3 of them one morning, peering from behind rocks, clutching bits of broken shell. They don't attack. They only watch him with tired, wounded eyes. He kneels slowly and builds a small circle of stones in the sand. He places the last remaining toy boat, the one carved from fishbone, at its center. A peace offering, a confession without words. Hours pass. The children approach, trembling. They touch the boat with trembling hands. Friend feels the spark of hope, fragile, trembling, alive. Back in the lighthouse, Gruner sees him return without fear and lashes out with anger sharpened by jealousy. Gruner's kingdom is shrinking, and he knows it. He feels Anarisa slipping further away. He feels the creatures evolving beyond his control. Friend realizes he must talk to him, not as soldier to soldier, but as broken man to broken man. That night, while they eat in silence, Friend speaks plainly about guilt, about misunderstanding, about the possibility of peace, about Anarisa, about the children, about what the island could become. But Gruner's shadowed eyes reveal the truth. He does not want peace. Peace means surrender. Peace means he is no king. Gruner knocks the food aside, furious, trembling, not with power, but with fear of losing it. Their fragile truce fractures. Friend sleeps lightly that night, knowing the island has 2 predators, and only one comes from the sea. Then Friend sees it, a surviving creature child, clutching a necklace. Inside the pendant is a photograph, the woman he saw in Robert's diary, the woman Gruner once loved, the woman whose memory drove him into madness. Friend realizes the full truth. Gruner was once Robert. He did not die. He transformed. The island didn't break him overnight. It eroded him slowly, turning loneliness into tyranny. The days after the battle are quiet, too quiet. Friend stands on the beach at sunset, looking at the ring of stones he built. He places the toy boat inside once more, a plea to Anarisa to return, a message of peace. Hours pass, nothing happens. Days pass, still nothing. Gruner grows unstable again. He lashes out at Friend. He tries to punish Anarisa when she returns limping, covered in cuts. Friend stops him. Gruner strikes him across the jaw. Friend doesn't fight back, not yet. He understands Gruner's fear now. The island was the one place where he could pretend to be king. Losing that illusion meant losing the last piece of himself. Winter deepens. Food dwindles. Madness grows. One evening, Gruner stands at the cliff holding a flare gun. He fires it at the sea, not to signal rescue, but in frustration. The flare arcs like a comet and hits a creature child emerging from the water. The child dies instantly. The beach freezes in time. The remaining creatures pull back in horror and grief. Anarisa stares at Friend with betrayal, not because he fired the gun, but because he could not stop Gruner. Friend runs to the child's body, heart pounding. The creatures retreat into the waves. Trust is destroyed. Anarisa follows them. Friend is alone again. Gruner's last thread snaps. He storms back toward the lighthouse. He wants to rebuild his kingdom. He wants the creatures to fear him again. Friend follows him. Gruner grabs a metal rod, ready to kill Friend. The lighthouse echoes with violence. Friend finally fights back, not to dominate, but to stop a monster made of grief and isolation. They struggle across the stairs. Gruner prepares to strike a fatal blow. Friend does not beg. He does not plead. He simply speaks the name, Robert. Gruner freezes. For just a heartbeat, the man he once was surfaces. The man who loved a woman now lost in time. The man who arrived on this island with hope instead of rage. That moment of clarity is the last mercy the island grants him. Gruner drops the rod. He limps to the beach. He walks into the crowd of creatures gathering at the waterline. He doesn't raise a weapon. He kneels. He whispers something Friend cannot hear, and the creatures close around him, not fast, not brutal, but with a slow, mournful finality. Gruner is taken by the sea, swallowed by the consequence of a lifetime of fear. The kingdom of one is gone. Weeks pass, then months. Snow melts around the lighthouse. When the government ship returns after a year, Friend meets the new weather officer on the rocks. The captain asks about the previous guardian. Friend answers the same lie. Gruner told a lifetime ago. He went to the sea and never came back. The captain accepts it. The new officer accepts it. They assume Friend is Gruner now, and he lets them believe it. Some truths protect more than they hurt. As the ship leaves, Friend walks back to the lighthouse. He stands on the balcony, looking out over the water. From the waves, small shapes appear, not attacking, not fearful, just watching. And that brings us to the end of this haunting journey. If you felt the tension, the mystery, the heartbreak, make sure you like the video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, because we drop stories like this every single week. The more you support, the more hidden gems and shocking movies we uncover for you. Comment below which film you want next. Your request might be the next video on this channel. Until then, stay curious, stay brave, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.